Hello and welcome to the Playing Arts Podcast, where we put the spotlight on artists in our community. I'm your host, Andy Needham, and this week, Tim Riopelle is joining me for a chat about his work, which blends science fiction elements with abstraction and surrealism to create otherworldly images. And so Tim is also responsible for creating the 10 of Spades in the Playing Arts Crypto Edition. So without further ado, Tim, welcome to the show. Sorry for
everybody.
Mixing up your wording there. I think it's it's a bit of a mouthful, to be fair. You know, you've got this.
I know. I had to throw in all those words to kind of tie in my artwork, but it's basically just science fiction art. I use art. Science fiction art. Yeah, I'm a sci-fi artist, but my bio did it.
I'm looking forward to kind of finding out a bit more about this style as well that you have, and I think I've seen you kind of almost change it up a little bit recently as well with some pieces. So we can dive into that as well. But let's just get a bit about your background and just sort of see how you're doing. And how long have you? Because I mean, from what I know, you've got this kind of compositing background, so and that's very kind of evident in your work and like the way that the light is as well. And so, can you kind of speak to a bit about that and how you kind of led you into kind of digital art?
Cool. Yeah, no, for sure. Basically what happened. So when I grew up, I was like into Flash animation and all sort of that stuff. Like I was always kind of doing stuff in Photoshop, doing stuff in like Flash and kind of learning all like the digital art tools. And then I got introduced to 3D. I was in a technical illustration class. So, you know, those like factory drawings where they draw like every like nail and screw and it's like they just kind of they're like the breakaway images of engines and stuff like that. So I did so I did a high school term in that. So the whole semester I learned about that. I learned about airbrushing, and then they had a computer there with True Space 3D, which was like such an early, this was back in this must have been like the early 2000s.
Okay.
So it was a very early 3D program. So it was like the first 3D program I was ever introduced to. And then I quickly learned about 3D Max shortly after that. So I did projects in that class that were 3D, and I built a guitar, and I just built some other stuff and just tried to learn how all that stuff worked, because it was really intriguing that you could like build these 3D environments and create these worlds inside of a computer. And back then you didn't have all these crazy rendering capabilities and the stuff you do now, but it always intrigued me that there's this new way to create and show this digital reference of stuff, and it was this new way to do things, and it really it got me really interested in wanting to do that. So I kind of started in high school to dive into this and started to learn 3D Max a bunch and just mess around with modeling, and didn't get really into rendering or anything till probably a lot later on. But so I was into like the creative stuff and whatnot. I ended up getting into like a long-term relationship in high school, because my plan was to go to college for art. And then I got kind of sidetracked and got really into like doing well in school. And then ended up getting into into university. I got into a lot of universities that I applied to, and it was kind of like, okay, well, I worked so hard to do this, why not go try it out and see what it's all about? So I chose the most boring degree you can focus on, which was geography. Like the whole first semester was about soils and like saturation levels, and so it's just like I was like
moving on to rocks and
then rocks and it's not as cool as like mountains and like all this other stuff. So I got pretty bored of it by the end of my first year, and then I kind of just started to lose interest in university shortly after that. I'm more of a hands-on type person, so my whole learning my whole learning comes more from like experience and like experiencing hands-on stuff and working with other people closely. And university, you're sitting in a room with like 300 people, and like the instructor's never going to know who you are. And then it just was not my thing. And I just kind of fell out of that whole thing with university over the next couple of years, and like started to take less classes. I lived really far away from the school, so I kind of stopped going and just did all my online stuff. Like I was passing and stuff like that, but it just wasn't my thing. And then that relationship kind of ended, and then I was just kind of a bit lost on what I wanted to do. So I was just like, my brother's like, well, why don't you, like, the video game industry is a big thing.
Oh yeah.
So why don't you go look into that? So Vancouver, BC, in Canada had an amazing industry going on back then. They had like EA was like massive, and there was a few others that were really big out here. I think Relic was still going back, or was going back then. But yeah, like I came out here to learn, and I came out here I graduated right when the Unreal editor and like the Unity editor came out. So I had learned everything before that, and it was awful. Like it was so outdated by the time I graduated. And that 1 year, it went from like this old way of doing things to this new way of doing things, and we had no idea when we graduated like how this was all going to work. So that was a bit of a bust. So I went to school for video game design, and then kind of got out of that. And it was, didn't really learn anything over the course of that year. And then I managed through the school though to get a placement with like an internship. So I was on this wrestling game called Pro Wrestling X that, I worked on. It was fun. I did animation, I did modeling, I kind of did a lot of generalist stuff. So I kind of started to learn more about 3D production and how kind of it operates in a industry environment, and how you like, and then all that stuff, and how the flow.
You have to be really on it when you're doing game assets and stuff, and like keeping all the polygon count low and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And I know, and that's the thing. Like, it doesn't even matter that much anymore, because things are so like the whole cinematics and video game stuff is all starting to blend into one. Like, and especially in Unreal 5 too. Like they have this like unlimited polygon thing that they have that can measure. Somehow manages to. So you can have unlimited polygons if you want, and it's not going to affect the gameplay and whatnot. But like we didn't have that back then, so you had to model like a bike, and then you had to go in and just basically delete every single face until you still had a bike, but
it's got square wheels by the end of it.
Yeah, it's got square wheels by the end of it. So, so basically, I just did a lot of really small work, like studio work for like the next few years, and I did a lot of freelance, but it was like generalist stuff. So that was pretty cool, because I started to learn a lot more about like all the 3D stuff, and started getting more interested in like effects and just like deeper modeling techniques, like hard surface modeling and whatnot. And just like starting to get into shading and texturing, and there's just like 3D is such a wormhole of like, you could just get lost in it. Like you could dedicate an entire career to like one part of like Maya, the software I use, and like you can make a career off of it. And it's so robust, and there's just so much you can do if you focus on it and learn it. So I started to do that, and around 2010, 2011. I wanted to go back to school just to learn more about visual effects, because the VFX was getting pretty cool. It's like with all the cool stuff they were doing, and integration of CG assets into like live action and stuff like that. And I just like my brother Scott, also he's a VFX supervisor, so he lives in Toronto, but he's also doing that stuff. So he's super talented, and he's worked on like tons of stuff. He's won like Canadian Screen Awards, so he's like kind of my it's nice to kind of see that. And it totally inspired by him as well, because like he's got an amazing eye, and it's pretty cool that we get to kind of be in the same industry and kind of share on that stuff. But so around that time I went back to school at Capilano University in North Vancouver, and that's where I'm working now, actually, which is pretty funny. So I ended up going to Cap for 1 year, and after my first year I applied to a studio as a green screen removal artist. which I had never done before, but I said I did so I could get the job, and
That's
they
what
hired
everyone
me.
says,
So
dude.
that was,
Do you know how to do it? You're like, of course I do. And then you just go and find out how to do it and then come back and do the job, you know?
Yeah. Always say yes. And then, learn how to do it afterwards.
Exactly.
That's the first piece of advice. That's a big part of my career, is that I only say no and I know I can't do it, but I'll say yes like 95% of the time, and then learn how to do it. And 95% of the time it works out. I've had a couple of things that haven't worked out, but it hasn't been like a huge thing. Like it's been more of a learning experience than like a failure. So, but yeah, it's, it was around that time I got into that studio, and that was my big break. I ended up being constantly working up until, in the industry until last year. So I had 1 year contracts every year since like 2013. And I worked as a lighting artist, so a lighting compositing artist. So essentially what that is you take like storyboards will do their thing, primary animation, then you have secondary animation. So primary is just like your keyframes and your breakdowns of all your stuff. And then your secondary is just like flowing out those sort of curves and getting like the final animation done. So after secondary animation, then it goes to kind of effects and lighting. So lighting is just taking that scene, and then you're kind of adding the lights in, the shadows in, all the different parts of it. There's like so many different layers that make up an image when you're rendering, because there's all your specular, there's your reflection, there's your diffuse, there's all of these different layers, and essentially that's what compositing is, right? So lighting is setting up all the data and information you're going to need in I use a compositing software name called Nuke. So in Maya, we set up everything. Yeah. So I'm a lighting, rendering, compositing artist. So lighting is setting up all the data. Rendering is basically, rendering out all that data. So you into like an EXR image, and then compositing is you break out that image into all of its individual passes. And then you rebuild it at the end, but then you can add controls to all the different elements that you break out of that. So like you can add a color correction to the specular, a color correction to just all these things. So it just basically gives you a full master control over your image. And you can, like, if there's an error, say in a specular pass or something, you can just you can paint it out or something like that, rather than having to go re-render the whole thing again. So yeah, it was a really, I didn't understand it. It took me like a year and a half to kind of understand compositing. But yeah, once I got it, it's just, you just start to get crazy you become a crazy problem solver, and you can start to like fix stuff you think's like unfixable just by taking an hour and just like hand painting out stuff, or just like, blurring out things or stuff like that. But it's really cool. And funny enough, I don't use compositing a ton I use grading in a lot. So I'll render the image in Maya if I'm doing a still image, and I'll take it into grading after, and I'll color grade it, bring up the blacks, and just kind of manipulate the colors a bit and get it looking a lot nicer, because it's such a big part of your final product. Which is another thing that I don't think people understand, is that the whole post processing and like color grading and just kind of tweaking all the values to get a better balance, it can add so much. Like I wish I had an image to show you guys, but it's just like what my image looks like.
We can jump to something on your website, for example. We can.
For sure. Yeah, you could pop that up. So for if I had that image to show you, it's so dull, and it's like it's kind of like getting a raw image, right? And then you just kind of go in.
See that? I know exactly. I mean, you're talking about just like a real, a flat kind of like. Yeah. There's a term, like it's shot logarithmic, and you want to then add the color balance and get the nice blacks and the really nice sort of true whites and all that kind of stuff. So you get the scale of the whole kind of spectrum of colors and things. But that's for sure.
Awesome. And I don't think people realize how much they can like especially artists coming up, like, and doing new renders, like when I know a lot of people are inspired by these when I came in, it was like Beeple that got me into it, right? So Beeple was the one so I was like, okay. I want to like, I think that'll be like, I can do that stuff. I've been in 3D for like 10 years. I know what I'm doing. And I went into it, And I just realized that it's just that practice of creating often and often and often and over again. It's like, it gets there, but I just saw a lot of people copying a style a bunch. So I was just, I got to a point where it's like, okay, I like that stuff, but I want to take it kind of in my own direction. And my whole idea was to try to create simple shapes, simple composition, and just try to make it as vivid and attractive as possible. So that was I started by spheres. I did a project that was the planets, and I just built shaders for all the different planets. And I ended up, it was where everything started. So I started to mess around. I would shatter objects, and then I would mess around with glass refraction, and then it would cause this crazy sort of, just cause this crazy sort of distortion of everything that's going on inside. Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of start adding stuff within that refraction, inside the glass itself. And then you can have that be manipulated by all the refraction and stuff like that. So I just got really kind of, into that whole thing of just messing around and trying to break shaders and trying to really just break things and then kind of rebuild from there into a more beautiful image. So, but it's to get back on track on kind of what I was talking about. So I started as a green screen artist, and I did that for a year. And then after that, I was asked if I knew how to light, which I didn't, but I said yes again. So I ended up, I got into a feature film. It was called Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. And so it was an animated movie that was kind of like a 3D, 2D cell shaded look. But it was like a Fantasia sort of movie where they got big animation studios from all over the world to do these different music videos that were based upon Khalil Gibran's poems from his book, The Prophet. So it was actually I ended up working with some of the biggest Disney directors directors and people who worked on Pocahontas, the guy who drew Nick, is it Riviere? Yeah, he drew Lumiere and Beauty and the Beast. And I was sitting on a floor with all these people who worked on all these massive Disney projects. And this was my first big feature film project. And I came from lying about being a green screen artist to lying about being a lighting artist. You got to get into it. If you can.
How did you get through that process then? Because obviously you're saying, I know how to do it. And then you'll basically get on the job and you're throwing a few lights around going, but did you have experience working with cameras, for example? So you kind of knew a little bit about real world lighting that you could take into 3D?
So I think what happened, with this project, it was very weird because they had their own sort of pipeline. So basically it was trying to mimic a 2D drawing. So you'd have a light in your scene, and what it would do, it would cast a 3-color grade across your character. So it'd be red, green, and blue, where green is your hot light, blue is your mid, and red is your shadow. Mm-hmm. So then you could use those red, green, and blues. In compositing, we make mattes using these colors. So you could do that, and then you'd have your base character that was it was just a base diffuse, and it looked like a 2D drawing kind of. But then you could use those mattes to brighten up the where the light's strongest. You have your midpoint, and then you have your dark side, and it kind of gave so much shape to it. And then you had a hand drawn line pass, which is a toon shader. So you have that layer to add on, but those always screwed up. So you had to go in and delete the lines or paint out the lines over 50 frames. The character's eye was flickering, and they didn't want you to. You can't fix it re-rendering because it will do the same thing over and over again. So you literally have to go in there and kind of paint it out. But it's kind of on its that pass, because it happened so often and the eyes were such an issue. It was its own sort of pass, right? So it came on its own utility layer that you would use. So it was really what that project really made me understand is the amount of utility and use that goes into these things, and the thought ahead and thinking ahead and pre-planning everything and having all these different things there just in case there's an issue that pops up. And it is crazy how some of these people get around like issues like this and the ways they plan out their projects. And I would like the way I learned is I would open up scenes of other artists that were way better than I was, and I would just kind of look at what they were doing. Nuke is Nuke's a crazy program. It's very hard to understand. Yeah. The whole node-based programs in general are difficult, coming from like After Effects, where it's all layer-based. And yeah, I after I understood Nuke and it clicked and I had that moment, I still use After Effects because it has some really good stuff that I do like. But in terms of compositing and like making a final image, I would never use After Effects. It's just, you would have like 70 layers that you're trying to go through, where in Nuke, you just make like a little graph and you can like test things out and build off these other little node structures and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so I learned a lot on that project. And then right after that project ended, they got DreamWorks gave them a bunch of streaming shows, like a bunch of children's streaming shows. The company I was at was called Bardell Entertainment. And yeah, they got like Dino Trucks was a show they got Puss in Boots, they got King Julian. And then I think they got one more show. I can't remember what it was at the time. But yeah, anyways, that was another 4 years of work right there that I was pretty much guaranteed after that project. So it was awesome. So I basically got in. I dropped out of university a second time. Yeah, after because I got it. So that's funny because I dropped out of geography and then I dropped out after my first year in the VFX program to go work at Bardell. So yeah, I'm a 2-time university dropout that now works at a university full time. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, so after that, I got about 3 or 4 years into the industry, and then it just became kind of like you're part of a machine, right? You're part of this factory lineup that's just like it becomes way less creative and more of just like a job. So you're going in there, like you're pretty much all the sets and the lighting and the looks are set up, and you're just kind of making sure you're keeping the quality to those looks rather than like developing new looks and stuff like that. And I was still like in a senior position. I was in like a mid to senior. So I still wasn't at a point where I was like getting to get in there and actually build out those sets and do that. But yeah, so I got kind of bored. I felt really I felt really uncreative, and like I knew I was an artistic person. I knew I had it there because I've just done stuff, and like I'm a musician as well, and I've done that for a long time. But like I felt so uncreative in that industry, and I'm like I got to start doing something, and I got to start trying to work on something for myself that makes me feel more artistic. So yeah, I started doing these renders after seeing Beeple. Someone pointed me to Beeple, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like his stuff is crazy. Like some of his work, like I'm not into the whole pop stuff he's doing lately, but that doesn't mean like the stuff he did for 15 years before isn't like, he's just all over the map and has so many ideas. And it's just like, it's crazy seeing that and seeing his determination and just what he was doing, like the everydays thing. Like I was all about it for about 40 days. And then I'm like, I can't do this. Like this is not conducive to like creative. It's like conducive to just like, just putting out work for the sake of putting out work. Right. But I had heard that people basically use those everydays as just a way to train himself to do something new and to learn and to do it. And that's all they were. And then he just managed to make like, do a wicked job of making like a huge impact in the industry and in the art world. I guess we're part of the art world now, right? The NFTs, are we?
Each one of those things was just to learn a new skill. The first one was just getting better at drawing, and then a lot of them I guess he found Cinema 4D and just started doing most of his work in that. But so you actually did 40 days in a row, though. Is that right? I did
40 days in a row.
That's pretty good going, because like it takes discipline to do that and just put something out, have an idea and get it done and dusted, within a day. So, and were you spending how long were you spending on these pieces? And are they on your Instagram or something like that?
Yeah. So if you go to my Instagram and you go to the earlier pieces, it was, it was anywhere from like 3 to 6 hours.
Am I in the right place?
A lot. So that's it.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, that's my Instagram. Yeah. So if you go early, like even earlier, like I have like 200 and something
Oh man,
images
I've been
on there,
scrolling
but
for ages. Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, these usually take around like 3 to 6 hours. But the stuff I've done in the space recently, like I'm just like, okay, I'm like, I've done this enough. Like I want to, I put way more time into the ones I'm doing now. And like, I put more thought into them. Like I look at my images so much, like I'll just have them up on my computer and I'll walk by and be like, oh, like what could I do here, sort of thing. So a lot of my time is spent now just kind of setting it up, getting it to a good point, and then I just start to kind of look at it and see what's not working for me and what's working for me, and start to like mess around with like textures. Like a big core part of my art are colors, textures. Yeah, this is my earliest stuff. So this is what I started out doing. Okay. So it was just like weird shaders, and just trying to tie them into the planets and stuff like that. And then I just got into like abstract, weird stuff. That like, but yeah, you'll see like my stuff's very centric. I try to keep it very like center focused, and that kind of became like what I wanted to do. I know it's not like, it's very easy art to do, to put something in the center of a screen and do it, but I wanted to, again, I wanted to approach this from a very simple idea of just having like simple shapes, just a simple idea out there, but then just making everything way more in depth by using like colors and textures, and just starting to mess around with all the different things like displacement maps and shatters and all these different effects and stuff you can use. And I got into using like a motion design program. Maya has its own thing called Mash. So I don't use C4. Yeah.
It's
so
like
I use Mash.
C4D.
Yeah. So it's cool. And
this is cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So so like that stuff too. That's on my phone. I think I did that one. So I had this period when my kid, I had this period where my kid, my wife was like, we were just kind of waiting for my son to be born. And I would just like, it was a lot of sitting around and stuff. So I'd just be on my phone doing like a lot. Yeah. So all those pieces were around when my son was being born, and just sort of like the 2D look. And then as soon as I got back to a computer afterwards, I started doing some more 3D art again. But I don't know what happened, but after I got through that 40 to 50 days, just my ideas, I couldn't stop them coming out. Like I would sit down and I would be able to like do these pieces like so fast. And it was just and it just
it's like muscle memory or something. You've developed a creative muscle, and now you can just kind of go, "Whoa, let's start flowing on this." Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's there for everyone. I think if you can like push yourself to do that, you learn so much about yourself, and you learn so much about like, especially like, it's weird. Like this stuff we do as 3D artists, like in this space, it's kind of its own little thing, right? They're like these own either little scenes. So the scene building is actually part of your skill set, because you learn how to set up these scenes faster, and you learn how to like place things faster. You learn how to scatter. You learn how to like do all these ways to just reduce the amount of time it takes to do it the second time you do it. So you do it once, you learn it, and then the next time you do it, you can do it in like 1/5 of the time. So then you have more time to focus on learning something new or doing something different. But like, you look at these artists who have like been like kind of sticking to their style and doing it for ages. Like Josh Pierce is one. Yes. He's crazy. Yeah. Josh Pierce is really, really good. He's just got it dialed in. And just that he's iconic. It's like iconic, right? You can look at a Josh Pierce piece and you just know it's his. It's
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think that's a really important thing for anyone who is kind of finding their way, is to find their style, and that helps you build your brand, brand, whatever. But it does.
Yeah, I know.
But like it kind of gives you that that identity as an artist, and that's why we know when we, you look at say, we were just talking about Josh, so we look at that and you go, oh yeah, it's one of his. So it's kind of through I think like this exercise, this creative exercise that you did of just doing something daily to get the ideas out and kind of find the style. I can see from those early images there that it was, like you said, it's color, it's texture. So maybe, you had those kind of things in mind. It's like, I'm going to do something based around this and explore those ideas, and just whatever comes in and comes out of that is going to be, help me get, this direction of where I want to go. And I think that's a pretty cool takeaway.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the thing too, like, and not everybody has the time to do this stuff, right? I had found myself, I've been doing this stuff for so long. So I had a background in it already. So I already had a head start doing this. Like, someone coming in doing this now, like the uphill battle just to learn like a 3D space and like how to interact with the camera, how to just like toggle or like pan around or do all this stuff. It's just like that in itself, like doing that and just getting in and learning how to like interact with the UI you're using or whatever software you're using is the same sort of idea. It's just like exposing yourself to that software, to whatever your tool set is, and just getting better at using it and learning how to kind of navigate it, so you're not wasting like time you could be creating on just like all this unnecessary stuff that you can just you can a lot of the time too. Like I got into programming because I got so sick of all of the repetitive tasks I was doing in the industry. Like lighting shots, it's like you do it once and then the next shot, even though it's different, it's the same thing. It's just like there's a little bit of difference. So I started learning Python and scripting and all this stuff to kind of just to kind of bypass all of this monotonous tasks that happen with 3D. And then like even when I was in the industry, like I started to build tools for our team. Like we had this DreamWorks tool that was sent, and it had all like the features and everything we would need to light a shot, but it was just like very confusing because you'd have to click here, go and do this. And I was just like, can we not just have like something where it just has all the functions we need? Because we used like 30% of the functions they had that they gave us. And I'm like, what if we just took all this functionality and programmed it into like a top down sort of just UI where an artist can jump in, boom, 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 the shot's done. And then they can focus more time on composition, because composition where's all the magic happens, right? It's where you can kind of add in all your glows and all your aberrations and your depth of field and all this stuff to make it look like push it over the top. And that's where like the artistic end of things come in the industry is in compositing. So so
I think I want to just go, because you were saying about you're lucky to have had a head start in the 3D software, but I think anyone kind of like listening and who goes, well, I don't know any 3D software, that doesn't matter. Pick up one of these and a bit of paper and just do some get composition like down, and then that will make things a lot easier when you go into if you ever go down that route of 3D, or people can just stick with 2D. And So
and totally too. I mean, if it's something you're interested in too, like even just like watching movies and stuff like that, and just kind of being more aware of everything that, like, there's so much that goes into everything you watch. Like every movie you watch is not just some guy pulled up a camera and started filming. There was like all this prep that was done to make sure that shot is going to be exactly how it looks and how it, like, it's just like and you can learn so much from movies too, and like apply that sort of stuff to your art, because there's just so many different beautiful ways that like directors of photography and directors use to like just like enhance their shots and like kind of make it a next level shot, rather than just like having a camera showing like whatever. It's just, but it's interesting. Like there's so many ways you can do this stuff other than like going into a software. Like you said, you can draw, you can just watch movies and kind of just be more aware of all the stuff that's going on, and kind of like even like depth of field, even like the people who are out of focus in the front, but you're focusing on the background character, like that's all planned in there. It's all set up in the storyboard. And it's like I don't do a lot of I feel like I do more visuals rather than like storytelling. But I would love to do like a little short, just like a little short idea. It would have to be abstract because I don't know, my art's pretty abstract, but it'd probably just be like music videos sort of thing. But yeah, I would love to get more involved in like a depth, in-depth
I think I'm losing
storytelling.
you here. I'm losing your stream.
Oh, did I lose you?
Yeah, no, we're back. I think we're back.
Okay, let me see here. Oh, am I back?
It's kind of
am I
frozen
cutting out again? Oh no.
No, you're good.
Okay, let me see here if I can. I'm good now? Okay, cool. Awesome. If not, I can run upstairs too. I should be able to, yeah, just let me know. If it keeps cutting out, I'll see if I can get it better. But yeah, no, cool. Yeah, I'm cool.
Because you have this, you got this abstract style. I don't know if, because you were talking about doing a short. So like, do you do much animation at all?
So I do. Well, I've started to do like more animated pieces since I got into the NFT space. My first NFT was actually an animation, and it's one I hadn't really done much animation on my Instagram stuff since I started. But like, this is the thing. I know how to do this stuff. Like I know, like I have a lot of stuff I haven't even started to utilize. Like I know a lot of effects stuff, but I've been really tied into like this whole idea of the art I'm creating, because it's like I really like the art I create. I like like there's some pieces that I look at that I can't believe I did it, and it's just like, and if I'm doing that just like at the stage I'm at right now, and I'm still like, I'm just trying to build things up really slowly. I find I'm just starting to like hit my stride in terms of being an artist, because I used all my early on time just to kind of figure out ways to like just make my, like I said, the more you do it, the faster things get. And now I can just kind of sit down, and it's less about, well, what am I gonna do? And I just kind of, it's very chaotic. I'll go and I'll like throw all these crazy shapes in, I'll deform them, I'll like break them apart, and then I'll like delete 90% of what I created, but there'll be like this one little morsel from that becomes like the centerpiece for something. And it's just like I'll spend like an hour or two just messing around, and like it will be like nothing, and I'll be like, oh, I can't get this, and then you just hit like one seed number that does something, or you do one rotation, or you do like one like light adjustment, and all of a sudden it's just like, whoa, I'm like, that's it, and then you and then you start to build your whole composition off of that. So I kind of just,
do you ever sketch things out, or do you just jump in to
Okay. No, I jump in. So a lot of the time I just jump in, and I'm like, yeah, it is my process. I'm going to start showing my process. I didn't like to, because it is very chaotic. Like a lot of the time I'll start and work for 2 hours, and I'll scrap it. And then, but like I liked the ground texture or something, so I'll keep that ground plane, which I could have, like I did something to the ground plane or did something to it that made it look right. So then I'll delete everything and then start to rebuild an idea off of that. Like, but I just kind of like to throw stuff on into a 3D software, and then once I start to kind of see the forms and shapes and kind of composition come to light, that's when I start to add in like lights and like start to add more depth and like kind of get in there, and just start to fill it out, because there's so much. And once you start to introduce shaders and stuff like that, it just gets even more in depth. And just like it's crazy what you can do. Like if you even just starting with like a gray ball is what they call it, a gray shaded piece, just to get all the lighting and everything set up, and then you just start to get it into building all the like, look, what are the textures on the different objects going to be, like how am I going to break up like the colors and the just sort of the depth of the image. And then you get into stuff like atmosphere, and it's just just learning how to utilize atmosphere in your pieces, because people are just like, let's load it in there and stuff like that because it's atmosphere. But there is a really fine line between great use of atmosphere and awful use of it, and it's just like, and it takes a while to kind of dial it in and get it, but it's very dependent on like your composition and what you kind of want to have hidden in the background and what you kind of want to have just like in the foreground, and just that like depth of like that one. See, like there's that depth of contrast. It's very dark in the front, and it kind of pushes back into like this like mysterious thing in the back. But yeah, exactly. That's a good example of what I'm talking about.
Very cool.
But yeah, it's
I mean, dude, you're pretty pretty prolific. I mean, you've got, I've been, had to scroll for ages on your Instagram, and I can see that you're like kind of everywhere as well. I mean, do you want to get into, and when by everywhere, I mean, we're talking about platforms like NFT platforms. So,
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about how you kind of got into this, crypto journey of yours, and just where it all kind of started for you? Because like I know we've touched on it, but like which platform did you start with?
So I started with Super Rare. So
Did
that
you?
was
There you
pretty
go.
crazy.
Hit gold straight away.
Yeah. So there we go. So yeah, hit gold right off the bat. So a friend of mine actually last year in 2020, I think it was early, just before summer, he had sent me something. He's like, "Oh, dude, you have to check out Super Rare. Like your art would be perfect for it." And I was like, I'll go check it out. And I looked at it and I was like, like I don't really know what's going on here. I don't really understand this whole crypto thing. So I kind of sat on it a little bit. And then around the end of summer and the end of September, I was like, I kind of looked back into it because I saw a couple of people on Instagram who had started getting into it. And I was like, okay, I mean, it seems like this is the thing people might start doing. I'm like, I think this is definitely, I had seen people have success at it, but honestly, I was just like, I have no following. I have no, like, I'm just going to go in there and it's not going to, I'm not going to be any sort of artist in this space. Like nobody knows who I am sort of thing. So I was just like, well, what's the hurt? What's the shame in trying? And maybe I'll just apply. Maybe they'll like my work and I'll get in, and maybe not. But yeah, so I put together an application and applied, and then I was contacted by Zach like 3 weeks later, and he said that I had been accepted, and I'm like, this is crazy. I didn't even know at the time. I'm like, cool, I got into Super Rare, but at that time, like now, it's like, oh, it's a much bigger thing than it was back then. But like I was onboarded. I was on board the same week as Fuck Render
Really?
onto Super Rare, and that was the point when things kind of started to get really crazy. Because like 2 weeks after I got in, it was just like a free for all of people just trying to get in there, and it was like I was like, I think I just got like back then. I was like, I think I just got really lucky to get in here at this point. I thought I had.
You had the portfolio.
Go ahead, sir.
You had the portfolio. I mean, do you remember which pieces you submitted?
I had the teddy bear. The teddy bear was in there for
just
sure.
Jump over to your website. Yeah. The teddy bear. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the teddy bear. I had if you scroll down, I had that hand in there, and I had the one to the left. So that one to the left there is like I want to go back to that style. I really like I just did it, and I was like, oh, I just want to mess around. And then when it was done, like probably like 9 or 10 months later, I went back and I'm like, I could really do a whole series based upon that sort of style, and like just that super dark and like very moody sci-fi abstract stuff. Like, I mean, a lot of my stuff is like that, but that was kind of a very, it almost looks like a painting to me. It's like it's very like I managed to hit all the textures and stuff like that I wanted to, and I was super happy with it. But yeah, I put that one. I have the one below the hand coming out of the circle too. I just sent them like 5 or 6. But yeah, I gave my strongest stuff, and I thought I had a chance. I thought my art was different enough from the stuff that was like I was seeing on Instagram. Like I really made an effort to try to push myself into a different area than like just like I do use assets and stuff like that, but I wanted to I just wanted to focus more on just like trying to differentiate myself from all of the like same sort of stuff that was coming out there, because a lot of stuff is landscape art with like stuff in there. Like I'm not doing anything crazy different than what a lot of other people are doing, but I think the way I approach it and approaching it from I just think having my background being like a composer, like I looked at shots all day. Like I was a lead artist for like 3 or 4 years, so just like I looked at shots. I looked at thousands and thousands of shots, always giving notes and stuff like that. So, like, I have an eye for this sort of thing. I've been doing it for so long, and I just it just kind of it started to just flesh out. And like I knew I had a chance for sure, but I just I didn't understand at the time, what this would all be, because this has been life altering. This whole last year has been Yeah, I would have never expected things to get to this point. Because I've just had my life kind of changed in the last. Even though I've been in my bedroom, I've been in my bedroom for the last year making art
Yeah.
and working, and like we're through COVID. Yeah, and so, but yeah, art's been like a coping mechanism, which is good to get through all of this stuff. And everyone talks about the mental stress of NFTs, and I wish we didn't have to talk about it so much, but it seems to be a big thing in this space.
I think it's an important thing to talk about as well.
Yeah.
And
but there's
because people have inflated expectations potentially of what this space could be, because you think that people hear the story of people and think it's an overnight success, but it really isn't. It's 13 years or more of hard work, and that's his why. But
and I mean, he deserves.
So it's just people have to kind of be mindful of that and just not, I don't think, compare yourself to other people in that regard, because you got to just kind of do it for yourself. It's right. You got to still have, because I think if you kind of focus on too much of those, maybe your sales or whatever, then it can take the fun out of creating and that kind of thing, and you kind of get lost. So, and I think
and that's the thing too. But there, sorry. What I was going to say is that the amount of stuff you have to be aware of, like, I don't think people, like, the amount of work I had to put into everything outside of my own art in the space to get where I am right now is like, I regret some of like the time I wasted on, or I didn't waste, the time I invested in things, like, because it took out of like family life and stuff. I got so immersed in this stuff, like I was completely just like and utterly into it. It's like I think about it way too much. I'm constantly thinking about it, but I really honestly believe that this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity to be a part of so early, that I feel like if I don't do that, it's gonna, like, I'm gonna miss out on something big. And like, you see this stuff like this recent like ENS drop, airdrop, and domain name drop and stuff like that, like, and then the super rare token drop and stuff like that. Like, it's just like being in the space early. And like, I got a 1-inch drop for like using stuff, just like using and interacting with the space. They pay you to do that. Like, they essentially are giving you governance. And like, and if, like, I realized with the ENS drop, I finally clicked to me like the whole long-term thinking of it. I'm like, this is like a web address back in like when the internet was being born, right? Like, you're getting into this thing so early. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to trade this right now. Like, I didn't get a ton. I got like 200 plus tokens or something like that, which is great. And then I'm like, I don't think I tried to sell a little bit, and I had 2 failed transactions. I lost a good sum of money, but I was like, after that, I was like, I thought about it, and I'm like, this is like essentially having a website at the start of the internet. And and now it has this whole backing behind it that you can you can invest money in and have it grow. And like back in the internet then, you didn't have that option. Like, you could have made money off of buying websites and reselling them, but to like be a part of like the governance of the website, like author and all of this stuff, like it just boggles my mind that we're all here in this like whole thing. Like, even if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But like, the fact that you're here being part of this, and it's just like kind of, you're just seeing the forefront of what could possibly be there, and you're a part of it. It's pretty special. And there's like that whole thing too, aside from being an artist, like you're trying to keep on track of like, oh, should I get this token now, or should I I missed out on this drop, that sucks. Like, the fear of missing out is a huge thing. And like, and a lot of the stuff too, like, everybody misses out. Nobody's into everything. Like, I know probably some big artists didn't buy like a domain name. They weren't thinking about it. They didn't get into that stuff. So it's just cool to like be in here, and then one day you like realize some domain you didn't even think really about back in the day, and now you have this airdrop that's like a significant airdrop. And then tons of people got it because they were here, they were around. And because of the NFT art space, like that information was being shared probably wider than they would have got like on crypto Twitter,
right,
or something like that. So they're interacting with the art, and then they're also getting that sort of crypto information as well, because all these people are interacting now with each other, and they're all kind of, and that's the thing, like they're helping artists out understand the space. So it's just wild. Like I've become way more crypto savvy just from like investors talking to me and reaching out and letting me know how things work, and just like other artists letting me know, like, and I'll just follow what other people are doing too, right? I'll be like, oh, you invested in that token, I'm gonna go get it, just because I'm like, I don't know much about it, maybe they do. So but like I don't think it's but that's the whole part of this space, is it can be super stressful, and I don't think it's as bad for me, because I mean, I came into this, like I have a job, I have a full-time job. So like, I know some people did this sort of stuff, and yeah, they're coming out of like in COVID, not being able to work, and they're using this as like a means of income. And it's like a sole means of doing this stuff. And to like see other artists like kind of abandon that old way of working and just like doing their art, and just getting to just be a part of this whole thing is, it's wild to me. That's why I'm obsessed with it. It's just so crazy to me that there's people who are just making art on their computers. Like digital artists got no representation for the longest time, and they had to struggle like on music videos and doing like, and like they got like world notoriety for their stuff, but they never got really a chance to like profit and like actually become like, it's just this what's happening right now just kind of it blows my mind. And and I can see how it can be really stressful, and how people can kind of get overwhelmed by it, and there's a lot of noise. And what I found is that I got to a point where I've been on the big highs, and I've been on big lows this year. Like it's been a crazy year. And I've had like breakdowns and stuff like that, and like I not like crazy or anything like that, but it's just like it's just so much. Like you get so much information and so much noise, and I realized that if you just filter it out and focus on what you want to do, and focus on the things, and don't let FOMO get involved. Like I always get like PFPs give me FOMO, because I'm like, oh, like I don't like the art that much, but it's probably gonna like double up or stuff. But I just stopped worrying about PFPs, and like I grabbed the occasional one because I like it. I like the art. But like stuff like that, I don't worry too much about missing out on those things. Like people can get those things. Like I'd rather focus on my art and trying to get myself like ingrained here now, because now is the time to do this. Because like there's just so much opportunity to do. You can pretty much do whatever you want right now. If you can think of an artistic idea and a way to kind of, set it up in a way that can be like collected by a bunch of people, or that people will get into, like you can pretty much like do anything. You can like build a story, like a universe, and have the NFTs be like, different things to interact with the story. There's like all these ways that people haven't probably even thought of interacting with NFTs. And
I mean, that's it. I mean, what is the future of NFTs? You know, what do you think is going to be tokenized next?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like I would love to do like essentially approach these as like mini series, right? So do like a project that has like this like group that you can get people involved in like sort of a game end of the thing, but then you have the art side as well, which is like the art of the game. So you can sell the art of the game.
Wait, hold on.
And you can sell that.
Isn't there something? Yeah, go on, keep going.
No, but it's like it's the art of the game. So like I would love to do like a sci-fi thing. I was coming up with this idea to do something where it's like it's kind of like a Squid Game idea, but like your NFTs are actual items in the game. So like so you would mint like I just had this idea, like you can participate, and if you want to get out, you have like this. It's like called a kill switch, and if you want to get out, you can get out with your money at any time, but you have to hit the kill switch. And if you die, then your money, like your whatever pass, goes to the pool. You lose kind of your NFTs and all of that stuff. But I was thinking it'd be cool to like, then you could like, if characters who die lose their inventory, like other characters can kind of grab it, or like they'll be able to like interact with it. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's not
It's like
art
the
anymore,
rings
right? It's more like
scattering around when Sonic's been hit or something. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but and it's just like kind of figuring out how a way you could do that, or like even like another thing I was thinking is like if someone like died in the game or something like that, then their past, like a spectator could like have this kill switch and they could at any time use it on anyone in the game, sort of thing. So it's just like you get this like I was thinking of ways that you could try to integrate like a story like that, just using NFTs in a kind of different way than that. But then you have the normal art NFTs of the game. So you build this kind of universe.
Oh no, you got into the
you have like these different art things that are part of the game, and then you could like auction off the art. Just kind of try to get people, and it's just like a mini series, right? It could just be like a little game, and then after that's done, then you go on to like the next sort of episode, and it's like a different story or something like that. But I don't know. I've been trying to think of ways to try to improve it, and then at the same time, I'm like, oh, maybe I should just focus on art and try to make that better too, and just work on, like 1-to-1s and like and stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting. It's time consuming. I don't know where people find the time to do these like big generative projects, and just like it must be like 2 or 3 months of just hard work, I guess.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's a lot of hard work, and yeah. I think it'd be, we're talking about cool art and kind of games and kind of stuff like that. Let's just talk about your card. Let's talk about the project and how you got into.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cool.
Arts, really.
So I was actually, I was emailed, I believe. I'm not sure if it's Vlad who reached out, but someone just emailed me. I'm to be perfectly honest, I don't know how I got in front of playing art, but I just received an email saying they were interested in having me be a part of the crypto project, and I was I had known about their cards too, because they had work from like Signal Noise and stuff on their stuff from before, and like a lot of the artists that were on the cards before, I was like, I love them because I saw a lot of their work on Instagram and stuff like that. But yeah, like as soon as I saw that email, I saw that email, and I was like, oh, and I looked into it, and at that time they had a much different roster. I think they had been talking to people that were interested, and then other people left, but there was a few on there that I was just like, wow, like Elo was big. Elo's work is just mind blowing. So when I saw he was wanting to be a part of it, I think he was on there at the time. I think he said that he saw me there, but I can't remember if I saw him there. I just know that there was, I think we were pretty much around the same point when we both decided to join the project. But yeah, like that was pretty cool. Like I was all in as soon as I got that email. I was like, yeah, I think this is a really cool project. And it evolved so much, as you know, Andy, over the course of the next months into what it is now. But yeah, originally it was just supposed to be a release on Foundation, I believe, and then it was thinking about Binance, and then we went through all the other stuff, and then and then Manifold came in, and I think that was the best option for sure. That was I think it worked out. But yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I'd love to know one day who came across my work and sent me that email, because that'd be amazing to know. But thank you, Playing Arts, for doing that.
I think Vlad or Sasha, I don't know. So, but they keeping tabs on lots and lots of artists, I think. So, but yeah, we can talk through your card here. There's 10 of Spades.
So I was a 10 of Spades. So weirdly enough, if you look at that picture there, it's black and white. So I haven't done a lot of black and white work, but I love it. Like I love Nate Hill's work a lot. I love A.L. Crego, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, but I love just their work and their use of lines, and I'm very inspired by the both of those guys. And yeah, this piece was kind of a little bit of a testament to them, but at the same time, just trying to bring my own sort of thing into it. So yeah, basically I had the 10 of Spades. So I went with the number symbology for 10 for my piece. So 10 just kind of references like a cycle. It's like the end of one cycle, and the starting of another. It's like, yeah, it sort of works perfect for looping, right? Because looping is such a big part of NFTs, and people are very very
It's
on
satisfying to see,
if
isn't
something
it?
loops. Yeah. But so that was the whole idea. Like, I didn't want to just like, this loops, that's my thing. No, it's like I wanted to make everything. So I did the texture. So I did an endless moving texture on the arms that would continuously like go, and it would always kind of revert back to its original state by the time it reached the end of the loop. So that's always constantly flowing. And then that kaleidoscope in the background is just using, I think, a piece of that motion of the arm going around. So it's always going to be looping as well, right? So it's always going to be doing that. And then I have, and then the spades representation, it's just basically, I have the spades down there. And basically my piece was called like the holder. And essentially it's the idea of holding cryptocurrency and having it grow or lose it, right? So you have 10 spades and they're turning into 30, and then they're turning back into, or how many are they turning into?
Yeah, it fans out.
No, it's more than 30. Yeah. So it'd be, so it fans out into like more, but that was the whole idea, is that you have this investment into your hands, and it's growing, and it's coming back down. It's like never just settling. It's always kind of, and I thought after I got the concept and everything there, it does look a lot different than a lot of my other pieces, but it kind of set me off in this whole other black and white. Like I love doing black and white art now, just because I love just getting enough information in there to make a convincing image. But yeah, it was kind of a great way to get me into, like, it just makes you think about composition way differently when you're not worrying about color, and you're just thinking about like contrast and all of that.
It kind of goes back to like your lighting days, isn't it? Because you're adding, you're taking the grayscale and kind of finding the form, So I guess that kind of really suits your working, your way you work.
And I mean, that's the thing with this piece too, is it's 3D as well, but it's like the hands are basically the only indication of like a 3D shape in there, other than like the spades that are going around. So it's just like, but yeah, the piece has depth. The spades are like kind of swinging out towards you and coming back. There's the clouds that are flowing underneath on the bottom as well. There's just, I wanted to give it like this simple depth. And just kind of, if you really look at it close up and stuff like that, I really like it, because you just get to see all the little details. And I really enjoyed making this piece. And I worked on it and got it like 90%. And then we were kind of sitting on the fence on what we were going to do with the project. And that was a couple of months. And then I remember the due date came, and then I was just, I was like, I put off everything until like the last like few days, and I was like pushing to get it done. I was like, I'm like, I had this thing done pretty much already. And then, managed to squeak it out last minute.
That final push.
And it was cool. Like I'm really happy with the piece I got in there. Like everybody who did a piece did such a great job. It was really awesome to see it all come together. And like, just like people did, how everyone took over their own card and kind of made it their own thing.
Yeah. Do you have any other favorites or anything that, in the collection? Is there anything
I love Totemical. I love their piece. It's very very awesome. Yeah. I love their work. It's so good. Your piece is really good too. It's mesmerizing. I really love it.
Oh, yeah. Look at that one then. Who's this?
Let's check it out.
This one here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
Thank
good.
you very much.
And then there's I love Kid Mograph is a huge inspiration to me. I love his work. I love it, just that he doesn't overcomplicate anything, but he just, every line and every detail he has in there is it's so perfect. So I really love his stuff. But yeah, to be honest, like Mark and Dussel too, his stuff, there's just too many. Yeah. There's too many people on there that are just, and then there's Jay Pierce there. Yeah. But
I mean, that's the thing. That is the thing about this collection. You just keep scrolling and you're going, and that one and that one. And it's, for me, like, I'm like, wow, I can't, I'm sort of pinching myself that I'm alongside these people, and it's just
totally.
pretty humbling.
And I mean, that was the cool thing too. Once I think we all, because we were all part of that chat too that we had on Twitter, and then we all did the other stuff, but we were all sort of helping, trying to get this thing moving and pushing, and like you especially, and thank you for that. You've put a lot of time into this, so that's really awesome that you're here and pushing this project. I've been wanting to get back into the Discord. I'm just dealing with a few things right now, but like I'm totally into getting back into the Discord, because
awesome,
I had a lot of fun. It was a really fun time being in there, and I like everybody who was involved. It was really great. People were so nice and just responding really well. I remember when I was going to do my giveaway, I was just started to watch my cards starting to sell for like 1 ETH. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, dude, the giveaway. I remember. Here's the Space Queen. Yeah.
Yeah, the Space Queen. Yeah. But yeah, that was another thing that's the first time I've ever done a giveaway. I can't call it an airdrop. I kept on calling it an airdrop, but you have to physically airdrop it into people's wallets, and that would have cost like $100,000 probably.
Yeah. Does that?
And I'm sorry.
There's still a few that people may not realize that they can claim. Yep. I think that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I left them up just so people can get them if they want them, but they're claimed. They're there.
That's kind of you.
Their wallet addresses are there, but I'll just leave it and see what happens. But I would love to do another one. And just because that was an older piece of an album cover I did for my wife's band. And it was just, cool. I love the image. So I wanted to mint it. But yeah, I do have plans. I do have plans for more. But I will definitely, once I have some more time to jump in on the Discord and get people excited about it, I will for sure. But it was fun. That was when all that stuff launched and we were, things were starting up. It was super fun. And then, I got so busy that I had to, I had to take a break. I needed to step back and focus on some other stuff to get it out of the way. Because in the space, you seem to take on a lot of work.
Yeah,
that you might.
And the real life kind of gets in the way. The outside of here, and you just gotta, you set different priorities at that point, and everyone gets that, So,
and that's the thing too. It's like the thing that isn't said enough. It's like it's okay to like step back. Like people think that they need to just be into this into it all the time. I remember the first time I took a step back, I was like, it was life changing. It was like, wow. I'm like, I've been so immersed in this like crazy thing that like I've kind of lost a bit of touch with reality and what life is like outside of this space.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of scary too, because I was like, I don't want to get too like I have a life outside of this, right? So it's like I have a career I built going on like for the last like 15, 20 years. Like I have all this stuff that I've done that I've like been super proud of and all of that. And I just like, like I work and I go to work and I do my thing. But like when I get home, my head is just like, boom, like I'm in this space. I want to create more art. I want to share more art. Like I'm very much trying to be a community person in this space and trying to share and give insight to new artists and trying to just help them out and trying to make them feel better about like maybe potentially missing. I like to talk about when I get like airdrops and stuff because it's crazy because I mean it's just luck most of the time. It's just you do something and you're there. You just happen to be there. But like I've missed out on way more stuff than I've been a part of. But I've just happened to be a part of like two bigger drops, which have been which has been pretty sweet. But yeah, just I
one, right?
Yeah, there's so the super rare and the ENS have been pretty good. There's the Bato. I might buy back into Bato. I sold it because I wasn't really sure of what it was when I got it, and then I was like, I shouldn't have done that after I did that because I did that with Paint Token too when I first got it from Mural. I sold it all, and I had like a bunch of tokens with that. And then I was kind of regretting it, but then I kind of checked the charts recently, and I think I made the right call.
Okay.
So yeah, but going back to what we said earlier, there's all this stress in the space about like, not missing out and like getting tokens and trying to get in early on stuff and selling when it's high, and yeah, or yeah, trying to profit when it's high and sort of, but not selling too much and stuff like that. It's just, and nobody really knows what they're doing. Like a lot of people can say like a lot or the artist anyways, because we all got here at the same time and everyone's kind of just figuring it out. And some people just happen to get better opportunities to do it.
Exactly. And yeah, people are figuring it out, and it's through having kind of conversations and kind of sharing information, and that we'll figure it out, and kind of everyone's kind of coming up and stuff. So I think that's really cool. And I think another way where you're kind of expanding your reach and kind of to a different sort of community and different platforms is through Hicket or Hen.
Hicket Hen. Yeah, let's call it Hen.
Let's call it Hen. It's just easier, right? And fun fact, Pac designed that logo. That's true, I believe. But this, this Puppet Master one, which we've been using for the artwork, this is a bit of a departure from some of your stuff. So what's that?
This one was I've always wanted to get into tune shading because I think deep down my goal is to really try to pull off an illustrative feel. Like right now, my pieces they're looking way more 3D than illustrative, but I feel there's this sort of illustrative element that's starting to like come out in my pieces. And with the tune shading, this was like the first opportunity I got to start like messing more with like adding more lines, and you can add like highlights in places and stuff like that, and just start to really mess around with getting like drawing details sort of in the areas to kind of give it more of that aesthetic. So this piece was like kind of more it was like what we were talking about earlier with people. It's like it was more of a learning thing for me, just to kind of see how light interacts with the tune shader itself, and like the sort of details I can get from it, because you can add like textures in the shadows. You can change how the light spreads across the surface just because of the tune shader and all the elements. And then you have the PBR materials as well that you can kind of mix in there as well. Yeah, and kind of give. But yeah, it's amazing because if you know how to like give those kind of drawing-esque textures to your stuff, you can really start to like blend the reality between it being 3D or being like people don't know if it's a 2D drawing or if it's a 3D sort of element.
Yeah, man, it's got such a cool look to it. Is this the Arnold tune shader? Are you using Arnold in Maya or?
Yeah, this is the Arnold in Maya tune shader. Yeah, so fantastic. It's the best one. It's so good. It's really just, there's just so much depth into it. Like there's so much stuff on the surface that you could just set up and it looks good. But as soon as you start to dive into like the ramps and like tone mapping and just like learning how to control your line width, like you can drive like, it's really cool. It's really, really in depth. And it's something I wanted to get into. So it's what I did. Like Halloween was coming up. I wanted to do a scary piece. I don't really focus on like doing, or not scary. I wanted to do like a moody piece for Halloween sort of thing. And it gave me that kind of opportunity to like kind of try it out. And it did really well. It sold out on Hen. I've had the pleasure of having a lot of really quick sellouts on Hen, which has been awesome.
I know.
It's slow, yeah.
I messaged you I was like, I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna try and do it, and then I was like, damn it, dude, I missed it. And then I got Prism Peak, I think, but maybe that was like an open edition.
Yeah. But that's the funny thing. Yeah, it's just, and it was great. Like I got spoiled. So like when stuff started to slow down, I was like, oh, maybe people aren't into my stuff anymore. So like I released one, and then I think I released that Fear the Sphere one, that red circle, and then it didn't sell as fast as I was hoping, and I got all bummed out, and I burned a bunch, and I was like, that was stupid. So with that next piece, I was like, you know what? I really like this piece. It's a new piece I did. I really like it, and I'm just going to leave it up there. And then it took a bit longer. It took like a day and a half as opposed to like minutes. But it's just like
your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had that mentality on Hen that like things were going really well, and when things go really well, you're like, okay, I'm going to release a piece and it's going to do well and stuff like that. And it did that for a long time, and then now that it slowed down, it's like, okay, cool. Like now. I think it's cool that it slowed down because there's always, I love these changes that we see in the space, like when things are like going the way that you want them to, and it's great, and all of a sudden it's gone, and then you have to kind of figure out, what do I do now? Like, what can I do? And then, yeah, it can kind of push you to, to try new things. And I'm all about experimentation and trying new things here. I think I have about like 4 or 5 styles. Like I wish, I don't think I have anything nailed down, which will probably be a detriment in the future of my scarcity and my artist brand. But honestly, I don't care. Like at this point, I love making the art I love. I love just like getting better at making it. I love seeing my compositions just like improve the more I learn. And if I never sold another piece, and I still got to interact with people and got other kind comments, and just like the support I've got, and just like people reaching out, and the other artists like I've got to interact with, like such as yourself, and just all these other artists like we're all now kind of on this sort of similar level, all interacting with like the same sort of stuff and sharing the same experiences. Like it's just, it's so amazing. Like, so yeah, if I never sold another piece, I think I would still be heavily invested in this space and just like really about it. Cause yeah, it's just very, I don't know. It's just really hard to explain how being a part of this the last year has been. It's like, it's been very therapeutic, but very stressful. And like, it's been like, it's been a roller coaster ride. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but you've got this big smile on your face when you're talking about it. So you know, that kind of says a lot as well. You know, so I mean, you're. I just wanted to check. Ask something as well, because like I mean, I said, you know, we know earlier that you're on several platforms. Are you using? Because so it's Super Rare, Known Origin. I mean, you use on Foundation. I don't know if you use it that much, but are you and Hen as well? And have I missed any? Oh, Nifty's coming out,
so
right?
there was
so Nifty Gateway.
So I had
Let's come back to that in a second.
Gateway.
Let's come back to that, because I just wanted to say, like, are you using these platforms in a particular way? Like, this piece will go here, this piece will go there. You know, what do you have separate? I mean, I just want to know really how you choose what to drop on. You know, which platform.
So that's the thing. So what happened with me is I've been really lucky. Like I've managed to sell. I've sold a lot of editions, like so much so that I'm kind of worried about like oversaturation. I think I've sold over like 600 NFTs across Hen and all the ETH platforms, but most of them come from Hen, right? Like the most, I think 490 of them or something like that are from Hen. But it's still like, it's still pretty crazy to me that's what I did. So I've been just like my Hen pieces I'm thinking are going to be more my edition or my like collectible idea sort of stuff if I was ever to do stuff like that. But yeah, just my Hen stuff is I wanted the newer stuff moving forward is going to kind of be like I don't know if you saw like the Reckoner series where I had like 3 pieces, and then if you had all 3, you got a 4th piece, which is called Burner Core. And if you burned that, you had a 50-50 chance of winning a 1-to-1. And five people. Yeah, I know. So 5 people burned it, and 1 person won a 1-to-1. So there's still, and then only 9 people picked it up. So there's 4 remaining. Yeah. And I think they're going to keep it because now it's an edition of 4, right? So I wanted to play with that whole dynamic of like having this piece that, because I spent so much, it wasn't just like a throwaway piece. That's like one of my favorite pieces I've ever made. Like I did the music to it. I put a lot of time into that piece, and I wanted it to be a struggle for people to burn and to do that with. And people were messaging me saying, "This is ridiculous, man. Like I don't know what to do." And then they're like, this guy's doing it. Okay, I'm going to do it. And I remember the day I burned, I had like 2 more people message me and like, okay, let's do it. But it was funny because I built out this little After Effects console render for every person that did it. I would just like replace their name and would be like this little render movie. And then it would show the results of if they passed or failed. So I was posting them on Twitter, like real time live. And it was funny because I was doing I just did a random name, like a random 0-1 generator if they passed or failed. So when I was doing it, I'm like, oh, I hope I don't have to like make 5 1-to-1s for all these people. And I was like, oh, and I'd hit the generator and I'd be like, oh, and then like they failed, and I was like, oh, that sucks for them. But at the same time, I was like, oh, thank God, that's like one less piece I'm gonna have to make. And yeah, and it ended up it was just like fail, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then Chandruby he's a collector in the space, but he ended up winning, and he passed, and then the last person failed, and I was like, oh, this is great, because I only need to do one piece. But everybody had a lot of fun. Like, they were messaging and saying that it was a really cool experience. So it was cool to bring something a bit different to that. And it would have been harder, I think, on an ETH platform. I think with Tezos, it made it very easy to just kind of transfer and not pay big fees and not do anything. It just made way more sense to do something like that on Hen, especially because it gives a lot of people a chance to get more involved. And like, I did it, like, my price point got more expensive. So my first ones were like, I think they were 8 or 10 Tez each. And then it just went up. Like, the next ones were like 15, and the next ones were like 30. So it gave a chance for people, but they were editions. So it was like 50 editions, 25, and then 10. And then Burner Core was just, it was another edition of 10, but it was given to the people who held all three. But yeah, no, it was a really cool, it was just cool to see the dynamics of like how you can play with your art pieces and kind of experiment in different ways and build community around it.
I think that's pretty interesting. I mean, can it still be just about the art, or have we kind of moved beyond that now? Do artists like need to offer collectors more?
That's the thing that's troubling. So the thing I found with when I was on like Nifty Gateway and stuff like that, I think people on Nifty Gateway are more new people coming into the space, or people just kind of looking to swap and make money on it. I think there is people on there that are there for the art as well, but just the whole community around it is a bit different. I found like on Hen, people really like the art, but there is those other people that are totally there just to flip your work and make a profit off of it. I looked at, I don't know if you used NFT Biker's tools, but he's made all these wicked tools that you can kind of check out all your stuff. And I think on Hen, like, I've had more secondary sales to collectors. So all the collectors of my work have made more Tezos than I have on my initial sales. So it's like a crazy stat to me that I had work that was trading on secondary, and all of this stuff that was like where collectors and people who had my art were profiting. I had a good friend of mine who collected 2 pieces for like, I think it was like 8 Tez total, and then he resold them for like 180. And so I was just like, wow. you like made more money off of those 2 sales than I did off of like releasing the piece. And I was just like, it just kind of blew my mind that's when I kind of I kind of got a sense of how this all works. And like, I was doing 1-to-1s on Super Rare, and the thing with that is I got the chance to build relationships with some of these collectors, like Colin Goltra, especially. But he was the first purchaser of my piece, and he's been such a wonderful individual to interact with in the space, and he's super smart, and he's doing a lot to push not only like this space forward, but just the crypto world forward as well. He's trying to like improve it in the Philippines. That's where he's based out of. But it's just like, it's awesome to see just like someone like that pushing this whole movement forward, and like helping artists, changing lives, and doing all this stuff, and then just like collecting a piece. And then now like he got me on my first Nifty Gateway project, which was it was with like Android Jones, Glass Crane, it was like Corey Myers, like Daniela, who else was there? There was so many people. I can't remember all their names. But it was just like some of the best artists in the space, and I got to be part of this like Chinese New Year thing that we did with them. So that was pretty cool. So that was probably, and Colin hooked that up. So he got me involved with that, and we kind of did the Nara Gallery drop on Nifty Gateway, and I mean, it was really fun. Everybody's art was super cool. but yeah, like being able to like interact with people like that, and like with one-to-ones especially, you build like a really tight relationship if you can talk to the person who collects your art.
Yeah.
Because yeah, sometimes you get the anonymous person and you don't talk to them. It's kind of like, I mean, it's nice to get obviously the ETH, it's nice to get like the transaction and stuff like that, and have someone support your art. But not being able to talk to someone like that, especially when they're like paying a significant amount for like a one-to-one artwork, and not being able to like thank them, and not being able to do any of that, it's tough. Like I have a hard time with it. And yeah, I appreciate everybody who wants to collect my work and who wants to to have that. But yeah, I like some of the people I've got to connect with, like some of the bigger collectors in the space have picked up my pieces, and just reaching out like a year ago, and now we're still kind of talking. We still interact. I don't talk to all of them all of the time, but they always kind of just like, yeah, just reach out sometimes and see how things are going. I know a lot of these guys are still watching. Like they're always kind of watching to see what you're doing and whatnot. And I kind of took I went over to Hen just because I really wanted to explore it, because I feel like it's what ETH 2.0 is going to be like.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel that environment is going to be very similar, just because of gas fees and all of that, and like more artists being able to like not only afford to collect but afford to like post work. I just really find that it is a good indication of how ETH 2.0 will operate once it gets going, and just kind of trying to figure out ways to just interact with the community and build art like that way around it. Like, because I do feel that art with utility
Come back to that point. I've lost you. Oh no, Tim.
Can be important. Wait, am I back now?
You're back now. I think when you're moving the phone around,
okay.
It was just.
I'm gonna keep the phone right here.
Keep it still,
yeah, it's just
man.
like, yeah, I gotta keep it still. But yeah, it's just I just think it's gonna be like I was saying, it's the ETH 2.0 should be around that, and artists. Sorry, I was gonna say artists having utility. That's what I was gonna say. So I think it's cool. Yeah, I think it could be done right. I think it'd be done beautifully, and like I think we're only just starting to see what can be done with it. But I don't want it to be something that all these artists have to do. Like these PFP projects are just getting ridiculous. Like everybody is doing one. And it's just like, they just kind of all start to look the same. Like it's all the same traits, right? It's all the same stuff. There's people who do it differently and it looks great and whatnot, but it's just, I wish artists could, like when I was in here, it's all about making one-to-one art and just like making your best art, and then someone gets it. And now it's all about, does your project have utility? What's the long-term goals? Like, what's the roadmap? What's this? And it's just like, I just wanted to make some art, and I'll continue making art for the next like 30 years that I'm alive. And hopefully that I'll have some recognition in that time, that your investment might grow in that time. But yeah, it's tough. It's, I wish, it feels like everybody has to have utility or some sort of roadmap now as an artist, and I don't think they need it. I think it's just what you see the most of on Twitter. I think it's just you see these artists doing this, and a lot of them are just trying to get into the profit off of it, I think. And some of them, not all of them, some of them are doing like really cool stuff and have like really deep roadmaps and just like kind of have a big idea of how it's going to roll out. But a lot of them just seem like they're just like cash grabs, or they're just trying to hop in before the trend dies. And I obviously have thought a lot about it. Like, I don't know if, like, who hasn't, like, you're just bombarded with the stuff like all day, every day. But yeah, I just decided in the end, not right now. I don't think it's what I want to focus on right now. I think community building is huge for me. I think I want, like, community is huge because it's basically why I'm here right now. Like I've managed to get a good chunk of followers on Twitter. Because it is like
it's like 17,000, isn't it? Something like that.
No, 13. I just hit 13,000.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
Yeah. But it's
hyping you up.
Hyping. But it's like, I mean, it's just followers, right? It's just like I never really thought much about it, and then I was just like, But then you realize that you have a platform, and then people are actually like watching you and everything you're kind of doing, and what you are putting out there is what people are seeing of you. And when you have like over 10,000 followers, it's like, okay, I can actually utilize this not only for myself, but if I share someone's art, like a lot of the time I love sharing people's art, or like I'll just find, like someone will follow me and I'll be like, oh, who's this person? And I'll click them and check them out. And then I'll see that they're an amazing artist, like with like 300 followers. And then I'll retweet their work, and more people find out about them, and more people retweet them. And it's just, and it's doing that stuff is just as important as like the art in some cases, like especially at this point I'll rephrase that. Yeah,
I think that's massively important, actually, the point you just made there, because it's like a retweet costs you nothing, but to that person, it's like, whoa, and it could change things for them. So especially when you have the reach that they may not have. So
right, and that's the thing. That's the important thing that I want to reiterate that I'm very much about trying to push things in a space. Like I collect art. I don't put like a super ton of my money into it, but I try to find pieces I really like. On Hen, I do a lot more collecting. I just, right now on ETH, it's too crazy. Like the gas prices it's like, I want to collect stuff on there and do it, but it's just like, I want to collect so much art on there that I'd be broke. And I need to break up my income of what I'm doing into the thing. So I want to reinvest in art. I want to invest in myself to make sure, like, my goal is I want to set myself up for the next 10 years. Like hopefully in the next like 2 years, I'll be able to like have a base where I don't need to worry about like money necessarily too much. And I can focus more on like my job. And like, just, I want to do my regular job, right? I love teaching and I love 3D and I love all this stuff. And I don't want to quit to do NFTs full time. I don't think, and that might be a burden, because like, I think if I did it, I could do really well, but I don't want to risk it all just yet. Like I've worked hard to get where I'm at in my career. So to throw that all away, wouldn't be worth it, I don't think.
Well, the highs aren't always there in crypto, so you're going to have to kind of ride the bears as well. So it's just,
and that's and that's
so
the thing.
Having,
this is all
having
going
a
to
stable income is probably a wise thing to keep having around, but
and that's the thing too. Like, and being in the space too, you start to learn how like with like getting stable coins and like how to take your money out so that you have a base. So you're not losing money all the time, and you're actually like, you're able to play. Like, I haven't, like, I've been lucky enough that I put $350 in to Litecoin in 2017 and lost like almost all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used that remaining money to convert into ETH to mint my first super rare piece.
Yep.
And then, from there, I haven't put in a cent of my own money. It's all been reinvested from art, from earning on art, from collecting, from trading. Art. Like I got some stuff out of, like I got into crypto after I started selling art and kind of selling tokens and just investing into these other tokens that are doing well. And it's all going to crash down at some point for sure. I know that's going to happen. It's already happened like 4 times this year. So, but that one, that 60%, there was that big 60% one that was pretty scary. I thought that was going to be like the end of it. And then it just exploded again. And NFTs were like double what they were before.
Right.
Just like in terms of, like users on OpenSea and stuff like that, which was wild. Like, and that's the thing, that's what's just going to keep happening. Like it's going to dive, and then I feel like it's going to go up. Just like the only thing I'm worried about is if like the government won't accept it and then they just ban it, and then it's just like, well, what do we do with it then? So, but I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that stuff, because I'm just, I'm in it for now. I'm trying to be smart. I'm trying to put stuff aside. I'm trying to like, I have good, I've managed to get some good airdrops, and I'm early on some stuff. Like I'm set up in terms of crypto because of art, which is crazy. So I'm kind of in this mix now. I'm in this mix now, and it's it's crazy. Like I think that if I just like hold what I have right now, there's a potential that like I could have, a retirement fund or something,
Right.
or I could have nothing, but I didn't lose a cent because I didn't put any of my money in. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
it.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You've kind of, you've let it sort of grow. And, I mean, if I think we'll probably start to wrap it up, but I think, if let's think about the person who, can't get onto a platform like Super Rare yet, and so what advice would you give to like up and coming crypto artists, like just to get themselves in to, what would you say to them?
So it's tough. It's not. So I came from, I had like 2,000 followers on Instagram, and other than that, I spent a lot of time trying to integrate into the community and like trying following artists that I knew were in the space doing stuff. Anytime I saw a big collector picking up pieces, I would always follow them to see how they interact with the space, see where they're going, see what they're doing. I just got really involved in just kind of looking at how things operate. And one of the big things is community. I felt that sharing other art and like being like, just like commenting and trying to build relationships was a big thing, because at a point I know I didn't have collectors collecting my work. I had artists. So I had other artists that like, I have some of my favorite artists have collected my work. And that's just like,
That's cool.
That was at that point. Yeah. Because and I think that is in part to, I mean, obviously I feel good about my work. I think that I was putting out high quality work, and I think they enjoyed it, but I think actually reaching out to them and like starting to build friendships and like commenting on their work, like, oh, this is awesome. And like, but just because I truly admire these people, and I can't believe I'm like on the same page as them. I'm on the same level. Like I went from this little small artist on Instagram to like interacting with like some of my favorite artists within like a month. And it was just like, the big thing I did was I interacted with them. I got lucky to start selling. I sold my first piece on Super Rare, and it was just kind of from then it was just a gauntlet. So I got really lucky. But what I noticed is now there's so many more options. Just so much more. Like if you're just starting out, like you can kind of get your chops up on places like Hen, and the Hen has a great community. Is if you see people like it can be a bit of a crazy place where there's so much art going on and stuff like that, but I find there's a really great community there of artists, and they're all able to collect, because or it used to be a lot cheaper to, like Tezos has tripled or something since I got into it, but
has it?
It has, which is
I haven't looked at it in a while.
Crazy.
I have a large collection on there, but it was back in the days when it was very, very affordable. So
but but that's the thing. Like, and a lot of people got into it back in the day too. So like, there's all these people. There's a way wider base for people who have sort of funding to invest in art on that, and whereas ETH is tougher because it's managed by gas fees, and it's a bit tougher to sell on there. But I mean, like, and foundation is still invites, right? So you guys still got to get a foundation invite. But I would recommend, like, as an artist, like, look into stuff like Hen. Hen is a good one. Tezos seems to be like the secondary to ETH at the moment. And I mean, there's a lot of great tools too for Hen. You can set up auctions on your work too on object.com. There's ways you can do sort of the similar sort of stuff that you can do on ETH platforms like Super Rare and stuff like that. But like I would, for them, like, community building is big. Kind of just like not researching, but just kind of getting involved in the space and kind of see what people are talking about and like what people are looking into, because like a lot of the artists I know too, like some of them, like they might not sell as well, but they get into collecting, and they get into like I've seen some people do really well, like better than I have, collecting art and reselling it, and like they were great artists too, and they just got like they got so much into the collecting end that they didn't have to like they can just not worry if their art sells or not. They're still posting art and doing that. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, just like research the space, get involved in like the community. Like a lot of these artists are super humble. Like the people that like myself, I'll talk to people if I can. I don't have DMs on my Twitter just because I don't want to be hacked, and it's like the biggest proponent of being hacked is messages through Twitter and Instagram. So like I if I follow someone, because it will open it up. But I just like trying to talk to these artists, and because a lot of them will respond to you and like let you know like how your works. Like I'd share work with other artists and get their opinion on it and stuff like that. But a big part is just integrating yourself kind of into the space just by kind of being on Twitter and kind of and following the artists that inspire you, seeing how they're interacting in the space. And obviously just continuing to work on your art, and like you said earlier, trying to, not a brand per se, but just like working on something that really defines yourself in the space, because it's hard. There's a lot of artists in the space, but there's a lot of artists doing a lot of different styles of art that are really cool, and there's like so much room for inspiration. Like seeing traditional painters start to use like augmented reality and stuff like that for their pieces is crazy. And just like there's just so many ways that, like, depending on the style of art you do, we're in this whole tech sector. Like Beeple's recent piece, for example, it's the same stuff he's always done, but now it's like this holographic big physical piece. Like he did a very smart idea. Like it's innovating, it's like thinking of ways that you can bring it to that next digital level, because people like to see that, like that digital NFT sort of thing about the work that kind of makes it relevant to what this crypto space is all about, and innovation and progression of technology and that sort of thing.
Cutting through some of the noise as well, is kind of important as well. And if you can do that, but I think
it's tough. Yeah, I think what you have to realize is like, you got to start. I started with the art. I just focused on art and meeting the artist and trying to get settled in the art community and not worrying so much about crypto, because I had ETH and I was stoked about it. I was like, yes, I have ETH. Everybody else has got ETH, and like people are, they're all interacting on the same sort of chain. I'm not worrying about investing my money in other like altcoins or any stuff like that. There's just so much noise that I'd like, oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do this. And I got so distracted that I was like losing touch with, just like being an artist in the space. And I was just freaking out and being like a FOMO, just more about FOMO and all of that. But like focus on the art community in the space, worry about all the crypto stuff after, learn how to get onboarded. Like obviously if you're in this space, you probably got a wallet, you got like, you've got an exchange to get money on and stuff like that. But once you get past that like onboarding phase into crypto, I would just focus on your art and the community and trying to just like get your stuff just post work. Like
you're right there. It's just like you've got a few key things there. Is just like put the art first. That's why you're a crypto artist. That's why you're doing this kind of stuff. So focus on that. And then from that, the style, the brand, whatever that kind of follows. Then you've got and alongside all of that, you become part of the community, become part of the conversation, become engaged in the whole thing, and I think it all will follow from there.
And it's slow. It's not like immediate. It's slow. It took me me like a year to get to where I am, and I was hardcore. I was like interacting a lot. I was on my phone and Twitter like a lot. Like I don't want, and like anyone watching this who's newer, like I don't want you to have to do that. Because I focus way too much on so much stuff, but I think just my time in the space interacting and doing it was like a huge part of why I managed to get such a good following early on. And it was just, it was too much. I put too much time into it. It worked out and that's okay. But I kind of regretted the amount of time I put into it, and I've cut it back. I've cut back a lot. I'm posting less and just kind of, letting myself enjoy things. But
Yeah. That's it. Enjoyment.
Awesome. For sure.
Yeah. Tim, I think we're good. I think that was such a cool
man. I
chat,
think so.
you know?
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate it, Andy. Yeah. But thank you everyone for showing up. We've got a small group here. That's really great. That was a great chat. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, everyone can follow you. We've got your handle there underneath your name.
Awesome.
But if there's anywhere else that you want to shout out, then please do so right now, and we can wrap it up.
Yeah. Right now, right now I'm just kind of focused on my life, what's going on right now. But I think within the next few weeks, I'm going to start to I'm just going to start focusing on my next big project. I have something cool in the works, but I'll start to reveal some stuff about it on my Twitter feed over the next bit.
Cool, and jump into the Discord and let us know. I mean, that's where I will, for sure. That's where the conversation continues. And also, we have an exclusive OAP for people to claim. We'll make some codes available after the show. Cool. So thanks very much thanks to the community for supporting the project. I always want to say thank you to that. And also,
for sure,
thanks to you, Tim, for joining me. I'm just stoked to have had this chat with you, dude. It's awesome.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it was a great chat. Very, very. That I only needed one margarita, so that was. But I appreciate it, Andy. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time.
Fantastic. Well, I'm Andy Needham, and I'll see you all in another episode of the Playing Arts Podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.